Today I had the privilege of attending the Honor Magic V5 launch event in London. It's Honor's latest foldable phone and it is a serious piece of kit. I've come away from that event feeling pretty positive about the device, but let's not beat around the bush here. It starts at £1,600. It's not cheap. But before you go ahead and click away, let me tell you a few of the features and why I think it might actually be worth that slightly high price tag. First off, let's talk design and build quality. One of the first things that you'll notice when you pick up this device is just how impossibly thin it feels. When folded up, it's 8.8mm thick. That's about the size of an iPhone or a regular smartphone. But when unfolded, that's when things get exciting. This thing is just 4.1mm thin, and it actually feels impossibly so. It feels like you might break it if you try to bend it too much, but we'll talk a little bit more about the build quality in a second. But also, it's a lot thinner than many of the other foldables on the market, and even some more standard smartphones, coming in at just 217 grams. It really isn't fragile either. The V5 uses aerospace grade fibre in the ivory white model, a carbon fibre backplate and an 8 curved diamond cut frame. The hinge is actually pretty beautiful and it's about 40 times more resistant than some other smartphones on the market. In the hand it feels premium and sturdy, but also has this absolutely beautiful elegance about it. I actually think it's one of the most beautiful smartphones I've seen in a very long time. It's almost like a piece of jewellery over a smartphone. It's very rare that I look at a smartphone and go, that's pretty. But with this one, I actually did. Let's stay on the engineering and the hinge, because that hinge is actually pretty wild. It's made of some incredible materials, and they call it the Lubin suspension hinge. It's made of shield grade high strength steel, and is rated for about 500,000 folds. Moreover, they've actually managed to get the V3 to withstand holding a 35 kilo weight. This thing is incredibly strong. But it was more than 35 kilos. They've won the Guinness World Record for holding something stupid like 101 kilograms. At the event today, they were holding up a red phone box. To keep it protected in day-to-day use, it has IP58 dust and IP59 water resistance. Both the inner and outer screen are also reinforced with their nano glass, so you're not going to scratch it up too badly, and even if you do scratch it or smash it, they're offering a year's worth of free screen replacements. Let's quickly talk about the two displays here though. The inner display is just shy of 8 inches at 7.95 inches. It's an OLED screen with a resolution of 2352 by 2172. It also runs at 120Hz for films and games and such. That outer screen is pretty similar. It's OLED, but of course it's smaller, coming in at just 6.43 inches. It's also 120Hz and is a proper ratio. That's not to be taken for granted when some of the older foldable devices, particularly that from Samsung, had this kind of weird chocolate bar style. It was too thin and too tall. Now we have a proper aspect ratio on the front of the phone. They can also get staggeringly bright too, coming up to 5,000 nits of peak brightness, meaning that you can actually use this phone outside without it just looking like a glary mess. They support HDR as well as Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos for audio, so you're going to get an absolutely incredible audio experience as well as a visual experience when watching things like Netflix or playing games that support it. On the plus side as well, both screens actually now support the Honor Pen, allowing you to take notes on both the inner and outer screen. That's something that's distinctly missing from Samsung's offerings and is actually a pretty big blow. Around the back is where you've got all of the cameras, and it's pretty staggering the amount of camera that they've managed to get in here. It's got a 50 megapixel main sensor, as well as a 50 megapixel ultrawide and a 64 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with 3x optical zoom. It also does things like image stabilization and 100 times digital zoom, which uses the AI to basically upscale everything that it sees. The images and video coming from these cameras are some of the best I've seen, not just in a foldable, but in general. It does feel a little weird to me that we've now got this camera bump which is essentially the same thickness as the phone itself, just protruding from the back of it. You've got this beautifully thin and razor thin device with this massive camera bump that just feels a little out of place. I almost feel like they should have put a slightly bigger battery in here, making this chassis ever so slightly thicker so that it perhaps didn't protrude as much as it does. The two front-facing cameras are 20 megapixel cameras. These are absolutely fine. I have no real complaints with them, but honestly, there's nothing to write home about here either. One of the biggest selling points and the thing they talked about the most during the launch of the V5 is all of the different AI features that the phone supports. The majority of these can also be supported on other devices through Google Gemini. So if you can do something with Google Gemini, it works exceptionally well on this device. Coming in the future is things like agentic AI as well, which basically allows the phone to take control and do AI things. So for example, adding things directly to your calendar or doing a Google search for you. Obviously, being a foldable, the tablet style device can actually hold up to, I think it's 3 or 4 different applications at once. And Google Gemini can actually interact with those 3 or 4 windows at the same time. That's pretty impressive if you ask me, and I'm looking forward to seeing this feature rolling out to other Google Gemini enabled phones in the future. There's live translation here, which actually ends up happening on device. I think this is one of the first phones where we're seeing all of this translation happening directly on device. I was talking to one of their engineers, and I think they said something like 20 different languages are supported right now, which is pretty amazing. Actually powering this device is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It's their newest, fastest chip, so you know this thing is going to be blazing fast, but it also has a lot of AI advances, allowing it to do a lot of this AI goodness on device, rather than having to make calls out to servers. There's a 6000 mAh silicon carbon battery in here as well, which means that you're getting a super thin phone, but also one that is powerful enough and has enough battery to get you through the whole day. It supports 100 watt fast charging as well, and obviously it has a load of AI in it to allow it to manage its battery life a little bit better to ensure that you're getting the most out of it. So walking away from this event, what are my thoughts on the Honor Magic V5? I think it is an absolute marvel of engineering that they've managed to get a phone this beautiful and this thin with so many features. However, that high price tag is going to make it basically a no-buy for 95% of people. If you're in the market for a foldable, this feels like the perfect option. It's no compromises, balls to the wall nuts, and I love it for it. I can see a future for foldable phones, but at this price point, it's just not gonna happen. Thank you to Honor though for sending me out and letting me check out the Magic V5. It is a pretty amazing piece of kit, and if you get a chance to try one in a store, then absolutely do. And if you actually do end up buying one, why don't you guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the phone. Get subscribed as well while you're down there, and of course, my name's been Robert, this has been Bite Size Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.